Today, on what it took to modernize our Army Air Corps' best missile, the LMUR, and our newest missile, the X-69 for the SU-57, fast, accurate, low observable, already in service. But first things first. The photo shows an Mi-28M with LMUR missiles, a lightweight, multi-purpose guided missile. The LMUR rocket became widely known in the summer of 2022, when some aviation-related Telegram channels began to frequently show very dynamic videos of the final part of its flight. So it turned out that getting into the window is not a figure of speech, but the very reality. Army aviation in the person of LMUR, still known as the product, gained a long arm and the ability to strike out of range of short-range air defenses. In addition to precision strikes, the LMURs independently exercised objective control virtually to the point of hitting the target. It looked almost identical to the kamikaze Lancet drones, with the only difference being that the 305 flew 8 times faster than 800 kilometers per hour and had a 25-kilogram warhead. Initially, only special modifications of the honored veteran Mi-8 could carry LMURs, but they were eventually integrated into the USSR with the main strike machines of our Army Air Force. First, Mi-28M, and then the beautiful Ka-52s, which proved themselves this summer. Today, the Alligator can carry up to 4 of these products in addition to the very well-proven Whirlwinds. LMURs raised the firepower of our rotary-winged aircraft to an unprecedented height for helicopters and allowed to perform effective actions where before these machines were rarely used. For example, when it came to monoliths, in elite structures or field fortifications. The signature feature of the new missile was a surgically precise strike on a weakly defended part of a building or fortification. Many times I have seen them actually enter through an ajar window, and with a certain amount of luck, they could even put down a Capitol building. Each missile weighs about 100 kilograms, flies at 200 meters per second, and carries a 25 kilograms warhead up to 20 kilometers away with killer accuracy. The sequel follows. The first LMURs, like many of our new weapons, were used in Syria. This missile has one interesting fact in its combat biography. It was originally designed as a special operations vehicle for the Special Forces of the Federal Security Service. The Mi-8AM TSHVN Sapsan helicopters specially created for the FSB have repeatedly flown out on various sensitive missions, and the LMURs have been unwelcome guests in gangster hideouts. Until 2021, when the export version of the 305 was shown to foreign guests of the Army Forum. The facts of its application were under the For Official Use stamp, and the movies we see regularly now then could only be seen by those allowed by the state secret. But in 2019, the missile was spotted by the military, and because of the delay in the development of the long-range Hermes air-to-surface helicopter-borne missiles, they decided to test the LMUR as a half measure. It worked out very well. The Syrian contingent's Night Hunters first struck a band group in Idlib province in 2021. The missile seemed excellent, making up for not having the largest warhead with unusually high accuracy. This accuracy was maintained even later in the face of tough countermeasures by REP and mobile anti-aircraft systems in a much more intense conflict. No instances of the enemy succeeding in shooting down or driving the LMURs have been recorded to date. The missile was quickly noticed in the West and immediately began to be compared to the flagship missile for the American AH-64 Apache helicopter, the famous AGM-114 Hellfire. The Western design lagged behind the 305 in most parameters from range to warhead weight. And the main thing that made the LMUR especially popular was the clear knowledge of whether the missile had hit its target or not. Up until the very last second, it transmitted the signal via a two-way communication channel and even opened up the operator to correct it. The mistake of quickly redirecting the projectile to another target. By February 2024, more than 100 effective LMUR strikes have been recorded in the main formation. The U.S. magazine drive called the 305 the most effective kill vehicle, occupying an empty niche between traditional helicopter-borne ADGMs and full-fledged air-to-surface missiles. And the fact that earlier this year Rostec announced that the missile would be seriously improved, many Western experts were frankly surprised. In their opinion, our developers and best-selling after that jumped over the top and made a very decent missile that eclipsed even the incredibly popular Hellfire, long considered an exemplary and unrivaled helicopter munition. But, as they say, there's no limit to perfection. Modernization of the 305 will take into account all aspects of the new combat experience, and it is promised to be truly mass-produced and more budget-friendly. There will be a special version for armored vehicles with tandem shape charge and volumetric detonating ammunition. All in all, a whole lineup, just like a good production rocket should. Well, now let's move on to the latest X-69 missile for the SU-57, which is already in service. It's no secret that the SU-57 among fifth-generation aircraft is one of the most embattled. Its fifth-generation counterparts have been in service for at least a dozen years, such as the F-35 Lightning II and the F-22 for more than two. But track records in no way correspond to the number of zeros in the amount in the contract. The F-35's biggest trophy, even amidst the intense aerial gaslighting, is one single Husidic cruise missile. The goal, to put it bluntly, is not a difficult one. Well, as they say about the Raptor, it's either good or nothing. At the end of his career, the first stealth fighter has one measly Chinese balloon on his shot-down list. For a miracle airplane with a retail price noticeably above $300 million per unit, that's some kind of disgrace. And with each passing year, it is less and less likely that this order will expand. So our Su-57, with its record of defeated aircraft and operations against enemy air defense, is clearly a deserving fighter in this line of stealth projects. Neither the AVAX electronic scouts nor the Virage system can see it. This has been said many times before. Only military and dual-purpose satellites occasionally pick up the location of its next temporary deployment. And I haven't seen any pictures like that lately. And they spread very quickly through military networks. And now we know that Russian stealth aircraft are constantly firing the most important targets with the same low-observable missiles. Finally, received accurate evidence that the top-secret missile X-69 is not just exist within the framework of exhibitions and colorful advertising brochures of the concerned KRTV and the heirs of MKB Raduga from Dubna, but also used by our aviation. What is the interesting thing about this development? Well, firstly, this weapon was created specifically for the Su-57 with dimensions suitable for its internal weapon base. In principle, this is one of the indirect signs of the new generation, that for it is made in weapons appropriate to the tasks they perform. The Su-57 can accommodate up to 4 such missiles in its internal compartment. Its range is more than 300 kilometers, which guarantees not to enter the enemy's air defense control zone, and the new propulsion system also has a high design reserve. For this range, we were responsible for the good old OVAD X-59, reports on the use of which we see every day. But he's not bad. Many have learned to intercept with mobile systems, and in general, the missile, although modernized, but it is already half a century old. The solution used in the battle-tested high-precision gadget for the new missile also had an impact. Its latest modification X-59MK2 even looks like a novelty. But there is a difference, and it's just hidden inside the product. The predecessor to the X-69 is also good. In addition to Su-34 frontline bombers, it is also actively used by our Su-30 and Su-35S fighters. For a relatively small missile, the X-69 has a fairly powerful warhead, and the modular design allows each of them to install a warhead that meets the current task of the product: fragmentation warhead, armor-piercing, cluster warhead. According to the developer's claims, this is one of our most accurate Relatis missiles with CEP of no more than 3 meters. Due to the special and materials used for the housing, the rocket has an effective scattering area even lower than its Western counterparts: French-British Scalp, e.g. Storm Shadow, American AGM, 158 JSM, and German Taurus. In general, exactly the kind of weapon that an airplane that claims to be stealth needs. The enemy air defense must detect such a missile when there is no more time to react.